All right. So, again, for Algebra 2 here, we're looking at the assignment worksheet 4.3b. All right, so adding on a little bit more on synthetic division here. So what we're looking here is finding factors, okay? But we're expanding this on polynomials, okay? So let's first look at factors here. So for example, if I looked at, say, 12, the factors of 12 would be like 2 times 2 times 3. That would give me 12. So if I said, well, let's pick one of these numbers here and say, does 12 divide by 2? And the answer to that would be yes, it'd be 6. So there is now another factor here, divide by 2. And does that work? Yep, 3. And then we have another factor, 3. And we have 1. So what we can say is, what are the factors of 12? Well, factors of 12 are 2 times 2 times 3. So that's exactly the same thing we are looking for polynomials. So if I say, put in the same format, if I choose one of these, is x plus 4 a factor of 2x squared plus 13x plus 20. Now keep in mind, remember there are two factors. So one way I could do the x box method and try to figure out what that would be, or the other option would be to just divide this out. So I'm going to take x plus 4 and divide it into 2x squared plus 13x plus 20. Now, last week showed you some shortcuts. Since there's a 1 here, we can do synthetic division. So we can go through here and change my signs, so therefore I can add instead of subtract. So I'm going to make this negative 4. Then bring down each number, and notice you have x squared, x, and x to the 0, so there's nothing missing there. And let's see what kind of remainder I get. So bring down the first number, change colors here, 2, multiply that, so you have negative 8, which is 2, 5, multiply that by that, negative 20, and the real last one is remainder 0. So just like up here, when here I got a remainder 12 divided by 2 is 6, there was no remainder. 6 divided by 2 was 3, no remainder. Same thing here, no remainder. So yes, this is a factor. So one of the factors is x plus 4, which we were given. The other one is 2x plus 5. Now, if I want to check my work, if I want to come back and do the box scenario here, and if I multiply these two values out, I should come back to my same answer. X plus 4, 2x plus 5. Okay, so I have 2x squared plus 8x plus 5x plus 20. Add my diagonals there, I have 2x squared plus 13x plus 20. And notice that's the same as what we had up there. Now, I'm just doing that just to check and show you everything that we're working with. All right, so let's expand this out with a few more examples. Okay, so I want to know, is x plus 7 a factor of f of x equals x cubed plus 3x squared minus 33x minus 35. Now, first thing, there are three factors that we got to find. The question is this one of them? So let's go ahead and divide it out. So divide it out and into x cubed plus 3x squared minus 33x minus 35. Notice I don't need to put a 0 in any of them because I have 3, 2, 1, and x to the 0. Okay, so let's do it by synthetic because there's a 1 here. So I'll change the signs. -7. And then I have a 1, 3, -33, and -35. All right, we're ready to start. So 1 times that, -7, add -4, 28. What's that? 2, -5, 35, and my remainder is 0, so yes it is. So what we have left is one of my factors, and there's 3 of them, is this, and now this would be 1x squared minus 4x minus 5. So there's a total of 3, so we found 1, and now that I am down to an x squared, to get my other 2 factors, I'm going to do the x in the box to get the last 2 out. So putting this in, you have x squared minus 5 minus 4x. Okay. So this would be -5x squared. Factors would be 5 and 1. And it looks like a -5 and a +1, x and x. So I have -5x plus 1x. So factors x minus 5 plus 1. So I have x plus 7. Now the other 2 I just got, x minus 5 and x plus 1. So we knew we were getting 3, and we found all 3 of them. Okay. So for most part, this is nothing new mathematically. It's just understanding a little bit of what's going on here. Understanding how polynomials work, same as numbers, but just with variables. There's more to this to come, but we're just getting the math down for now. All right, so let's look at another one here. So the question is x plus 5 a factor of, say, f of x, my notes, g of x equals x cubed plus 5x squared plus 4x plus 20. So let's divide it out. So we have x plus 5. We have x cubed plus 5x squared plus 4x plus 20. Okay, we want to do synthetic, so change it. We got a 1 there. So -5. And 1, 5, 4, 20. And we're ready to begin. Okay, so let's bring the first one down. 1, -5, 0, 0, 4, -20, and we get a remainder of 0. So yes. All right, so we're looking for 3. So remember, there's 3 of them. So x plus 5 is 1. Okay, now we change colors here. So this here would be 1x squared. I'm not going to worry about that one. It's going to go plus 4. Now I don't need to do the x box because I've got 2 things here. But you have to realize that when you have, let's come over here, if you have x squared minus 4, this would factor down to x and x, 2 and 2. I'd have x minus 2, x plus 2. But there's a plus here. not a minus. So that would mean that I would still have x and x, 2 and 2, but it'd be x minus 2i and x plus 2i. And this here, bring this one down. My x plus 5, the very first one. So I got 3 of them, 3 factors that make up that function. All right, and that's all we're doing here. So let me just talk a little bit more about the difference of squares here. So, for example, you have x squared minus 9. That would be, since it's a negative, be x plus 3, x minus 3. Now, if I had x squared plus 9, that would be x plus 3 and x minus 3. But with this, you need an I and x minus 3i. Now, let me just show you how that works. So if I multiply these out, I'll do both of them so you can see the comparison. So let's do x plus 3, x minus 3. Here, x plus 3i, x minus 3i. All right. So on this one here with the negative, I would have x squared plus 3x minus 3x minus 9. So those cancel out, and I have x squared minus 9. Now on the other one, you have x squared plus 3ix minus 3ix and minus 9i squared. Those cancel and have x squared minus 9i squared. But remember, I squared is negative 1. So basically, x squared minus 9 times negative 1, and I have x squared plus 9. Okay. All right, so that's all we're doing this week. Pretty simple. Just understanding what a factor is in polynomial terms. And like I said, everything we work with in polynomial terms, you know, for example, if I know we haven't really talked about like EDX, sine of an angle, cosine, tangent, some of those things that you maybe worked in geometry. Everything is written in terms of x's, a polynomial. So we're trying to get you understanding what a factor is and how you can divide, how you can multiply both ways, and what it looks like. There's a lot more to this later on in your life, but for right now, it's just doing the math part of it. All right, so give the assignment a shot.